Welcome, everyone. You are tuning in to Engaging Walk. My name is Drake.
And my name is Ruby.
We believe in the power of walking together and talking together.
It's a simple act to stay connected, and movement is key.
This week, we will discuss the concept of learning about your spouse, yourself, and how your relationship can be viewed as two cups in a bowl.
And how you and your significant other can take time and make deep connections.
Yeah, so this week, this is our 5th episode. And we're like super thrilled at the amount of people that have been downloading the show on Spotify, on Google Podcasts. Like, we're pretty much everywhere. Wherever there's a podcast, you can find us. And we're super thrilled that people are tuning in and taking that time out of their day so that they can learn new skills, connect with us, with Engaging Walk, and then also to take those tools and connect with their loved ones.
Yeah, thank you so much for following us and listening to us. And as we are so appreciate you guys because you literally like take time from your day and spend time with us. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, we also just wanted to make it known to our listeners that you can follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and we have our website, www.engagingwalk.com. You can go there and you can find our social media, and that will just really help us connect, and we can see like your comments. We're also on YouTube, and we can see like what your comments are, what you liked, what you like to see more of, and any comments that you have on the content so far. So again, thank you so much. We have a lot of people tuning in from the United States, some from Western Europe, and it's super cool to see.
And then so many people from different states. And I remember like we have two locations in California. So shout out to San Jose, woo woo, and then Texas.
Yeah.
And so like the East Coast.
Yeah, East Coast.
And then I believe we have someone from Ohio too. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we had some folks from the Midwest. That's really exciting.
Yes.
And we love it. It's awesome. Super excited to see all the people tuning in.
And you know what? Maybe we could have our walks and not just like in, Southern California. We can go somewhere else that where you guys lived, and maybe like sometimes in San Jose, road trip to San Jose or road trip to Texas. Who knows, that would be fun.
Yeah, leave us photos on the social media and let us know like, hey, take an engaging walk over here. This little known place is really nice. We also wanted to utilize our website so that folks can know some of like the background information of what we're talking about. So like especially last week where we talked about love languages, you can find a lot of that reference material on engagingwalk.com.
You will find like if you're not familiar with 5 love language, you can find a definition, and also we can post the test that you can take with for yourself and your loved one, and also questions tailored to 5 love language, so you can ask your spouse if you don't I don't know what to ask them. We will put up a questionnaire for you so that you have an idea to ask.
Yeah, so that you can find that on engagingwalk.com. We'll have a page devoted to the episodes and the reference material that we use, so that you're like, hey, I'd like to take that test, or let's take that, we could take that test or read up on this topic. That's all going to be on there so that you can access it. And again, that's www.engagingwalk.com.
Pretty cool. All right, let's move to our this week episode.
Yeah, this week, like we said, we're going to discuss the art of learning about your spouse, and we're going to dive a little deeper into the concept of 2 cups in a bowl.
And this week we're going to walk at the Mission Valley Trail, California. It's really long trail and tons of, mountain climber there. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, there's rock climbing areas. There's beginner trails, more advanced trails, and I'm pretty sure that it's like farther like Junipero, like Serra trails, like or that area, but it's pretty much like central north San Diego, and you'll see really, really beautiful trails there, especially with all the rain that we got this year in San Diego.
All right, you ready?
Ready as can be.
So let's talk about the art of learning about each other. What do you think about it?
Well, I think, going back to our story, we were dating for a while, and then we were getting to know each other, and like the relationship was picking up a lot of progress and a lot of steam, and it kind of there was an opportunity for that to get halted by a deployment that I went on in the Navy, but due to Ruby's thoughtfulness and her intentionality, we were able to use that time apart to still grow and learn about one another on a really deep level. And I think maybe even like the time of like not being physically in each other's presence still created an opportunity for us to like dive deep into who we are by communicating and by asking really deep questions. So some of the things that we did was we created like a list of things to do together. We created a lot of lists, but one of them was the list of things to do together when we got back.
Yeah.
And
right.
that was really helpful. And then we did DTR, Danny Stokes Define the Relationship, and a lot of other things that really helped us to connect on a personal level. What did you think about that time period?
Actually, I really appreciate that. I mean, I didn't like the deployment, but I appreciate and grateful for that time because, like you mentioned, we didn't get to see each other face to face or physically be with each other at the same location. But somehow I felt like our relationship grew way more and deeper. And it just gave me so much opportunity to get to know you on a deeper level. Like, okay, I like this person, not because I'm attractive to his, physical appearance, but no, because he's intentional with his life, his goals. And I get to ask all kinds of questions. And I love how I understood that you were very busy, but yet you make time to, reach out to me on certain time a day. Like, okay, I know like this time he will reach out to me just to check in and also ask, answer the questions, and not just answer my questions. You also give me, all the questions from you. So the conversation is like two sides. And I feel like asking intentional questions is really helped me to connect with you.
Yeah, a lot of it was like we did a lot of like running documents together that were like
we have like a Google Drive just for us.
Just for us. Yeah, and it was like one of them was like 7 questions for Babe, because at that point we already had like that pet name for each other, and then we would just ask all sorts of questions like, what did you it would be so much fun to review them, but like it was a lot of it was like really just diving deep into who this person is, like what makes them tick, and growing off of that, and like turning those questions around. But a lot of it was also like, I guess you could say like practical about what we expected from like a family.
Yeah.
So like questions about like how many, really important questions to know, like, do you want children? How many children do you want? What kind of house do you see yourself living in? Like, where do you want to live?
Yeah. Are you willing to relocate if I have to move somewhere else? And I think because like when we get connect with each other through email and text, it's allow us to ask questions that deep, and that it's kind of hard to ask face to face in conversation. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think just like with an engaging walk, when you go out on a walk, you have something else to focus on, i.e. like the scenery. So it's very different than like almost like a psychiatrist like table where you're just
staring
like
at
each other and just like
yeah,
eye contact the whole time and grilling each other and asking question after question. It could feel like an interrogation. Whereas like with an engaging walk, shameless plug, you go out on a walk and it's a little bit more distracting for you to ask those really deep questions. Like, so for example, if you're at that stage in your relationship where you're not married yet, but you're thinking about it. You're like, hey, this person might be the one, but you know what? I am very into having children, and I'm not sure where they're at with that question. They haven't really pointed one way or the other if they want children or not. That might be a good spot to ask. Hey, how do you feel about children? Do you want children? How many do you want? What's your timeline of when you would like to have children?
Yeah.
I remember one really shocking time for us was when we were on the deployment and Ruby and I started discussing marriage. And we were like, okay, yeah, that would be something that we both would like. But then like what came really shocking was when we discussed the timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, it was not shocking. It was fun for me. I'm like, yeah, details. Because I'm a planner. But yeah, it's shocking for you.
Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of details, like we had in our initial conversation the timeline to be much further down the road than when we revisited the conversation, we were like, no, we can actually move this up.
Yeah.
And then when one of us broke the ice to introduce, I don't remember who it was, to introduce that idea of like happening or the marriage happening faster than the initial conversation, we were both relieved that we were like, oh, we're actually on the same page.
It was you.
Okay, well, I'm glad that it was me then, But yeah, so like you can have these really deep conversations. Yeah. Maybe a Google Doc might work for you. Like if you're a couple and you're busy, you can start a Google Doc with and that really nice thing is you can do comments there.
Yeah.
So like if your significant other posts something, on the doc, you can like kind of highlight that and be like, hey, what did you mean? Or like, I really like this. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah. Well, since we talk about the art of learning your spouse, it's for me like it's not just like when you take an art class, you will have to go through very basic step first, so you understand the concept, but it's an art. So once you have the basic steps, it's up to you to tailor how you want to draw, the art, and you want to carry it out. It's just up to your creativities, and I feel like it's tailored, even though you hear story from us, but it's your opportunity to tailor it into your marriage, to your relationship. And even if you're not seeing anyone yet, well, create one anyways. Like, how would you create, the learning curve for your future one? Because that's what I did. Like, I will imagine I have someone, and how would I want to do it so that, for my preparation. Well, what about love? Let's talk about 3 things that, we learned from each other recently.
Yeah, I think I learned a lot about Ruby from this new experience of us raising a puppy together. So I learned how one example would be how I learned how much she loves affection, how affectionate Ruby is, and like not having, because like this puppy that we have is not very affectionate. And she was like, the whole reason why we got a corgi was because they're supposed to be affectionate, and this dog is not affectionate. And I was like, hey, you know what? Like, she's still a puppy. She's going to grow into that. And for me, like, I didn't really care one way or the other if the dog was affectionate towards me, but that was really important for Ruby. And I can see why, because Ruby is very affectionate, and sort of highlighted like, hey, her love language is physical touch, and I can see like, if she's not getting that from the corgi girl.
I was frustrated. I'm like, my investment didn't go through the.
Yeah, so so definitely reiterated how important affection is towards, for Ruby, and it also sort of highlighted also for me how, I know this is kind of a weird thing to say, but how human she is.
Oh, wow.
Because Ruby is so very well put together and very well organized and so thoughtful and so intentional. And seeing her distraught over this puppy gave me a new appreciation for, just earlier today I was like, hey babe, like you really deserve a spa day, like a you day.
A yes day.
A yes day for her, so that she can go and do the things that she would like to do and be free from, the poop bags and feeding the dog, because, right now she stays at home pretty much most of the day with the dog.
Yep.
And so it gave me a new appreciation for how human she is, that even though she's so well put together and so well organized, that this puppy, has been taking away her free time.
Yeah. But thank you so much for all the kind words.
And a third thing.
Oh, okay.
A third thing. Let's see. A third thing that I've learned recently. Well, you do a couple and I'll think.
Okay. To be honest, I'm very good at asking questions and not sure about the answering that, but I do my best. So 3 things that I learned about you. Well, not recently, but when, we get into marriage, and I realized that I constantly asking you a question when we cook. We have totally different style. I will like, okay, what do you want to eat? Tell me, and I make it. Or I will ask him along the way. But for Drake, it's different. Once the chef of the night, he will take charge of it. So this one time he was like, babe, you can just do whatever you want. You in charge. I was like, I know I'm in charge, but I want to know what you like, So that's one thing I learned about Drake in cooking, that when he cook or when I'm in charge to cook, there's a freedom, whoever that, in charge, to make the dish. And one thing I observe, the second thing that I observe with the puppy, that he very good with dogs. Like, I mean, Boba loves him. We do the test where, like you put the puppy in the middle, and then you and 2 of us run a different direction. Guess what? She ran to me, okay? And then she stopped, and then she looked, oh, this is not daddy. So she just went back to daddy, and her face looked different. So he's very good with dogs. That's what I learned. But also, like, he very quick. No, he's very loving. That's one thing that, I learned that from about you. The very first time that I met you, that you are a very loving person, and your heart is just so full of love and very warm. That's something that I describe him to everyone that I know about Drake. Like, his heart is very warm. So with the pup, he's firm to train, to discipline, but at the same time, once the discipline's done, the loving is coming right after that. Like the pup know, like, hey, I love you and I need you to learn this. So that's the second thing, I think. Yeah, the third one.
You need time to think, because I have a third one now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, the third thing that I learned about Ruby is from observing her so every Sunday, unless I'm on duty, we go to church. And even if I'm on duty, Ruby goes to church. And we have different roles there at our church. And most Sundays will participate in the worship, which is playing instruments. I usually play guitar, sometimes bass guitar, sometimes drums. And pretty much every Sunday, Ruby's role is overseeing, in some capacity or another, the childhood education program. And she does an amazing job. And sometimes I can take for granted or not really see how much work she puts into the organization and the time and effort that she does commit to ensuring that the children have a great experience, and how fearless she is in trying new things to get the children to have new encounters with God and with each other, and to grow, and seeing her try new things. So we went on a little bit of a road trip, and during that chance encounter, we found a place for potential like children's camp, and our church has never done one, has never done a children's summer camp. That was a normal thing in my church growing up, but these children haven't had that. So immediately we get there, and she's right away thinking like, oh, this would be perfect. This is a great spot. And seeing her level of commitment towards that, and seeing her bring an idea from just the ideation all the way to, hasn't been completed yet. This is still upcoming, but all the work that she goes through to bring that idea to life, even though she's got to bring some people through the mud and dragging and screaming, like she got it done. And she got people to see like, hey, this is something that's worth investing. And in a way that is, how do I put it? Respectful to herself and to her team is another thing that she's very passionate about, is respecting boundaries. And seeing her go through that experience showed me just how, again, like how well put together she is, how she can take on the most difficult tasks with people. It's a very difficult task, and some of the most difficult tasks, and she can bring that to life. So I'm very appreciative of her for that, and I'm sure that the children, once it's done, and the parents are going to be like, hey, that was really worthwhile, and we thank her for her effort. So
just a reminder that it's not just me by myself. I have the whole team, but I'm just like. But
she's definitely leading and making it happen, and providing that assurance to the people, like even at the threat of taking it away, like hey, if these criteria aren't met, then like we can just forget it, and then people are like, no, we're on board, But again, it sounds mean, but you have to have that respect for yourself and for your team. So yeah, I learned a lot about my wife's talents.
Well, praise the Lord, because like every time, I to be honest, there's a moment, throughout the journey that I'm like, I'm not worth it. Why would I do that? But then, God would just remind me like, hey, there's a purpose behind it. So He gave me strength and grace to carry it on.
Okay, so that actually leads us into a nice idea, because this is like getting into the idea of disagreement. So within that time period, there was a lot of disagreement when Ruby was trying to get everybody on the church on board with doing a children's summer camp. But that area of disagreement provided room for learning more about one another. Mm-hmm. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I would not say different. We're on different pages, and for me, I think disagreement does not have to be the downside of a relationship. Let's more focus on your spouse. I mean, like the person stay with you the whole time, and not that in the dating season where you can just say like, oh yeah, I'm busy, I need to to do certain things, and you just get away from them for a couple of days, a couple hours. No, but for me, I think even like I have some disagreement with Drake. I think I have to like cool myself down a little bit, step back, breathe, and and take that as a learning curve, instead of a potentials of argument or potentials of the fight. Because at the end of the day, we are here together, and my goal is to connect with you. My goal is to know you, and I think even like looking back, some of this without those situations, I won't be able to see that, area of who you are. And again, like we went back to, the previous episode we mentioned about like if the situation arise, and instead of if your spouse coming out and showing who they are, don't shoot them down, but take that as a learning curve. Like, yes, I get to know you this way, and how can we grow together? How can we find agreement from this, instead of disconnect?
Yeah, I think that's really important because not everybody gets to see that vulnerable part of you.
Yeah.
And it's a very vulnerable and unique area in which you can, that is essentially what makes you husband and wife. Or, if you're in the dating stage, you're going to grow in that intimacy, or you're going to grow in that connection, and you're going to see more and more vulnerability. And that is what makes the relationship special. And that is what makes the relationship what grows into the marriage or covenant, which is you have so much access to hurt me, and that's vulnerable. And you have so much potential to do that because of we live together, we share everything together, and that's a vulnerable place to be. But that vulnerability brings a lot of area of like potential, what should be respected. So
Yeah.
that's what Ruby's alluding to when she's saying like, hey, don't shoot that person down. It's we recently went through an episode where I felt very vulnerable. There was things that were happening at work, and I broke down at home, and no one sees that at work. I don't do that at work. No one would respect me at work.
Freak you out.
If they
freak
saw
them
me
out, yeah.
at work like that. But she sees that. No one else sees that but her. And I guess now the dog does. But but that's an area of trust and covenant between us, that we can see that from each other, and that we can support each other through that. And that's what makes the relationship so special.
Yeah. So when when that opportunity arises within your relationship, again, take that as look at that a different, perspective. Like, hey, I get to see my spouse in this situation, and nobody gets to see it, and I get to know them more through this. So, all the best, to the relationship, and that is exciting. That's become an art. Like, is not planned. It's very authentic.
Yeah, definitely. So next thing we're going to move on to is this using love map cards. So you can be extra vulnerable with each other and use these love map cards. We're going to show you a link of how you can get them. I'm pretty sure you can purchase them, but then there's also like apps that we'll refer to on our website that you can see, or an area where you can ask like new questions. Sometimes, especially probably for us guys, we're not like super creative with the questions that we ask. I know my favorite one that I like to ask every day is, how was your day? How did you sleep? Did you eat anything? But I'm actually genuinely asking like, hey, how did you sleep? Did you sleep okay? But fellows, we got to spice it up. We got to ask more questions than just the basic 3 or 4, and drive at new understanding.
Yeah. So basically, they are like, I have a stack of cards, and some of them call love maps exercise. So I just draw a card, or you can use them on the app. There's a question, and you get to ask. Well, the question is for you about your spouse, and then through that questions you get to, and then they will answer. You will hear the answer, and you can compare the answers together. So first one is, who is your spouse's favorite relative? Well, wait, this is my question. I would say Thomas, your brother.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to say a favorite relative because it sounds
Families
like
don't get jealous.
yeah, because it sounds like I don't like the other ones, or they're not like as. But Thomas and I have a very unique relationship because we're both male. He's my younger brother, but what makes our relationship so unique is we're barely young. He's barely younger. He's only 13 months younger than I am. So, you know, and we're essentially twins, you know, and we have a lot of the same hobbies and we get along very well. And yeah, so
See, but just one question, and do you see how much information that Drake provide? And now that is where I get to know him because, you know, I get to hear from him the answer. I'm like, whoa, okay, there's more depth into that answer. So those questions are helping you get to know your spouse more.
and then my
All right.
card says, "Where was your partner born?" So
Ooh.
my partner was born in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam.
Yeah. Wait,
And-
is it north or south?
Ho Chi Minh's in the south.
Yeah, good
South
job.
Vietnam. I've learned a lot about the different cultures in Vietnam, like how Central has its own culture and dialect, North has its own culture and dialect, and South. And Ho Chi Minh is like their New York City. And
That's right.
and you know, Ruby loved going around. I've never been to Vietnam. I got really close at one point to go to Vietnam. We were going to go to Da Nang. But I learned some Vietnamese over the couple years, and it's very difficult language. It's very difficult, and sometimes I feel like I learn a word and I forgot it right away. But there's some words that have stuck, and the Vietnamese food is super, super tasty, and the culture is wonderful. And I know that like my family had a super fun time during our wedding hanging out with Ruby's family because like actually like the Greek and Vietnamese, because my family is Greek and Ruby's family is Vietnamese, and like our cultures are actually pretty similar.
Yeah.
Very similar in terms of like how we treat family, how we treat elders in our families. And the idea of like family gatherings we take very seriously, and like when family gatherings happen, like no one's on their phones, like everyone's hanging out and having a good time
Yeah.
and talking and eating and encouraging like singing and hanging out and all that kind of stuff. And then actually like my family is a bunch of musicians and Ruby's uncle is a musician, and we were like jamming out.
Yeah, we have fun.
Yeah, we have fun together, and like my family like instantly saw like, oh yeah, like
We
he's
bond
right.
right there. We bond right
like
there.
Vietnamese culture and Greek culture, very very similar.
Yeah.
Ruby told me all about like growing up in Vietnam, like driving around on her scooter. How one of the things that shocked me was they're dealing with flooding.
Oh yes, I'm about to say that. Yes, we swim in the flood. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I thought we had bad weather in Boston where I grew up, but it's worse in Vietnam.
You haven't.
Because I used to
you have
complain about the snow, and that's how it
seen
came up.
nothing yet.
I complained about the snow that we get in Boston, and Ruby was like, "Snow, we have floods."
Yeah, it's getting worse, but moving along.
Moving along, okay. Last thing that we wanted to highlight is this idea of 2 cups in a bowl. So we briefly talked about it, I think in the first episode it was. And we just want to elaborate on it more. So just to recap, in our relationship, we can think of it almost as its own entity. The union of ourselves. In our case, we're married, so our union is
It's a bowl.
is solid. It's a bowl. You know, when you're in a relationship and you're dating, it's not so solid. You know, because there's not that promise that you're going to stay together. Whereas with us, it's a promise. We're going to stay together.
It's not just a promise; it's a covenant.
It's a covenant. Great word. But the bowl doesn't exist in and of itself. In other words, I have to bring myself, that is to say my cup,
Yeah.
because the bowl is somewhere far away, or it's somewhere off in the center, and I need to go fill up my cup and then bring what I have to our bowl, and we share that bowl.
Yeah.
But my cup is me. So if I'm empty and I'm not bringing anything to the bowl's not getting filled. If Ruby's full and she's bringing her cup to the bowl, well, then I'm not doing my part, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Right? So we both have an obligation to bring ourselves to our marriage. And that bears with it a lot of responsibility, not just to Ruby, but also to myself.
That's right. And we believe as a powerful people, we retake responsibility with our life. And we, in terms of, taking care of yourself, of myself, like I understand that, we have a covenant now. My life looks so different with you, and my schedule changed, but it doesn't mean that I stop developing who I am or stop growing myself. And so be intentional in keep growing, because not just you, I'd get to know Drake is interesting, but also like the I feel for me the most powerful thing that you can do for yourself is to discover who you are. To discover your talents and your gifts and grow into that, because nobody gonna do it for you. Like we're in charge of ourselves, and we have that opportunity to do it. And for me, I think it's more attractive when we continue to grow, and then the partner get to understand it or get to know it. So we believe that two powerful people know how to take care of themselves and fill them with positive input and growing, and whatever the overflow from that cup, you get to bring it to the bowl. Because if my cup filled with dirt, and if I don't take care of myself, it just filthy, then what can I bring to the bowl? Pretty nothing much, if it's empty. But if it overflow with dirt, then I bring that to the bowl too, So I have to be very intentional, taking care of myself, and believe that, and trust that Drake will do the same. One thing that I was struggling, and I think I learned from other people, that you don't lower your standard. If your standard is high, good, and keep that way, and expect the other person do the same thing. Well, I also ask myself, what if the person doesn't reach that standard? What should I do? Well, the same thing. Keep the standard. And
yeah, you have to let the other person know, hey, marriages get ended like that. They can, at least, when the expectations aren't met. I know I was just recently talking to I'll keep their information private, but they're going through very, very serious problems in their marriage. And a lot of that was after discussing with them, with him for 15 to 30 minutes, a lot of that was based off of expectations not being met. And that festering can feel stifling, especially if your partner's dreams aren't being met.
Yeah.
So and you have to constantly check with your partner. You have to constantly check with your spouse. Hey, are your dreams being met? What are your dreams? What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished? How can I, help you? I mean, ultimately, that's your partner's responsibility, but you're not just living in a vacuum anymore. You're in a relationship. So if your partner feels like, hey, I would love to get my master's degree, for example, but the kids are making that difficult. Well, you have to work together to find a way to make that dream happen.
Yeah. And I think, coming to the relationship, I will ask myself, like, what do I bring to the bowl, and how can I serve you in the relationship instead of like, what can I get from you,
Right.
you know?
And you should want to see your spouse achieve their dreams and achieve. I mean, that's sexy, right? If your spouse is like living their best life, and like, hey, babe, I just got this deal done. I've just opened up this business. This business is doing this kind of,
Yeah.
There's no jealousy there. Or at least there shouldn't be. Hey, yeah, I'm proud of you. Good for you.
Yeah. No, not so good for you. Good for us.
Good for us.
Because 2 in 1 now.
Yeah, good for you. Good for us.
Yeah.
And that drives a relationship, and you see that success in your spouse, and should motivate you. I think a lot of people also, they see that success in their spouse, and they get jealous, or they get like insecure. No, that's not the proper response. The proper response is, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the things that you accomplished, because we do it together.
Yeah, it's you mean your teammates. So if they win, you win too.
Yeah, and it's so there's so many things that we can bring to our marriage, but we have to recognize, like, what do we need as individuals, because we're still individuals.
Yeah.
But our relationship, our coexistence is a real and independent almost thing that, in a weird way, it's like tied, but it's also its own thing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I think you brought up very, crucial and very essential point, is that do you know each other's dreams? Do you know what make the other person come alive? Because without doing that and support them, it won't last. Because I love how Drake's so supportive. He said, like, whatever that you decide to do, I will be there for you. And that is one thing that I make very clear in our relationship when during the dating stage, that I say, like, this is my calling, this is what I see myself doing, and what do you think about this? And that's in my testing points. Like, if he not allow me to do whatever that so dear to my heart, then I won't. I don't think the relationship will go, because if I chose him, then I have part of Ruby is die. Actually, most of my heart is my Ruby is die, because I neglect what make me come alive.
Right.
So
Yeah, and that can't happen. You can't ask your partner to give up who they are to be the us.
Yeah.
They still need to bring who they are to the table. Their cup still needs to be present, and their cup still needs to be full. You can't fill their cup for them.
Nope.
And your bowl is going to be empty, or just your stuff's going to be in there, and you're like, I got 2 cups myself. I don't even need your cup. That's not how that works.
Yeah. So basically, we have each of us have responsibility to fill our cup, to be powerful, to be grow into who we are supposed to be, and from that it overflows to the bowl. So if your bowl have some issue right now, maybe look into the cup. Like, okay, what is it in there, so that I can become a better person, that I can give it or offer or serve my spouse.
Yeah, very well said. All right, I think at this point we can move on to this week's assignment. Yeah, so we got this week's assignment. Super excited about this one. So after a little bit of like, hey, what's this week's assignment going to be? We finally came up with this one. So going back to the beginning of our conversation of this podcast, we talked about how Ruby and I managed to stay connected over the deployment. And one of that was we created a list of things to do together. Now, during our discussions, we'd be like, oh, it'd be so much fun if we could go on a hike at this place. Well, we can't really do that right now because I'm out in the middle of the ocean. So we kept track of a list of all the things that we wanted to do together. So we would like to encourage you guys to create a list of 5 new things that you and your spouse or your soon-to-be spouse or your aspiring spouse have not done before this upcoming month, or maybe 2 or 3. The idea is to do something realistic, things that you could feasibly do within a short amount of time. And then share with your spouse how those events helped you to learn more about them. So it could be something like, hey, I've always wanted to go kayaking. You know,
Yeah.
oh, you never been kayaking either? We should totally go kayaking this weekend. Or it could be fishing,
Yeah.
some type of activity, dance class.
Yeah, both of this that will get that part of your partner that you never seen it before. And I think it's sweet because you know what, if you guys both do something new together, you share your first thing. Like, when is your first kayak, for example? I did it with my spouse. That's special.
Yeah, it can be a totally fun and new experience. And you can, through that new experience, you can learn like, I never knew that you wanted to go to a cooking class, or I never knew you had this this desire to do painting. Oh, we did a pottery class together.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
It was really, out of nowhere, I was like, let me look on Eventbrite and find out what kind of events are there, because my intention was for us to do a painting class. But then I was looking and I was like, you know what, pottery? I've never done that. That sounds like fun. And we did a pottery class and we made our own pottery and we have it in the house now.
Yep.
Yeah, super fun.
So fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was a great date. So share with us on our social media. You can go on YouTube, you can go on Facebook, Instagram, and on our website. You can find www.engagingwalk.com, and you can share with us your experiences. Let us know what you did and how much fun it was.
Yeah, we will read every single comment and messages,
We're super looking forward to it. Yeah, and so with that, we would like to thank you for tuning in. We hope that you can make our engaging walk, that you can take our engaging walk and make it your own.
And stay tuned for the next episode where we'll discuss about breaking down barriers.
Don't forget to click the follow button. And this is Drake and Ruby with Engaging Walk.
Oh, again, don't forget to subscribe us on Facebook, Instagram, and visit our website, engagingwalk.com.
This is Drake and Ruby, and we are signing out. Thank you.
Bye-bye.